July heat hung over the town of Briar Hollow like a wet tarp. Kids ran barefoot through sprinklers. Screen doors slammed, and somewhere down Oak Ridge Street, an ice cream truck's jingle wooned through the air. Too slow, too warped. Officer Mara Ellison wasn't supposed to be on duty that day. She was only passing through with her K-9, Bear, heading to her father's cabin. But when Bear froze mid-step, ears pinned back, then barked at that truck like he'd found a corpse under it, everything changed. Stick around. It's a story you'll never forget. Let's begin. The town of Briar Hollow lay tucked between hills no one ever talked about, and a lake no one swam in anymore. It had one blinking streetlight, a diner with the best peach pie for 100 miles, and a local PD that mostly handled porch thefts, bar fights, and missing goats. People left their doors unlocked, but they locked their secrets tight. Officer Mara Ellison didn't come home often. When she did, she avoided Oak Ridge Street. Bear, her K-9 partner, was panting lightly in the passenger seat of the cruiser, tail swaying with lazy contentment. He'd earned his vacation. So had she. 3 drug busts, 2 child recoveries, and a burnout that left her half-gutted from the inside out. The department had practically shoved her out the door, telling her to get some air. So she packed up and drove west, past the old mills and forgotten towns, right into the town where her mother died, and her father drank himself numb. She wasn't staying long. Just enough time to check in on the old man, breathe a little slower, maybe take Bear for a swim in the lake before heading back to the city. But Bear had other plans. It started with that sound, not the familiar bark of greeting or the deep-throated warning he used when confronting suspects. This was different. An urgent, sharp snap of his voice. 1 bark, then 2, then silence. Mara's hands were halfway to the steering wheel when he growled. Not loud, not showy, low and steady, like a motor running cold. She turned her head and saw him staring at something across the street. His fur stood up in a jagged strip down his back. It was an ice cream truck, painted in faded pastels, its chrome rims dulled by time. The vehicle sat parked beneath the only surviving elm on the block. The music box jingle warbled to the summer air, too slow, distorted. A few neighborhood kids stood nearby, clutching single dollars, their faces slack with heat. But Bear didn't look at the kids. He stared at the truck, more specifically at the rear doors. Mara followed his gaze. Something inside her stomach shifted. She parked the cruiser at the curb, stepped out slow. Bear didn't wait. He lunged, leash still attached, and dragged her halfway across the street. The truck driver turned at the sound, the kind of man you forget 5 seconds after seeing. Mid-50s maybe, bald cap, sweat stains under his arms. Sunglasses so dark they looked painted on. Easy, boy, Mara murmured, trying to get a grip on Bear's leash. But the shepherd wouldn't stop. He was barking now, louder, faster. His claws scrabbled against the pavement as he tried to get closer. The driver stepped off the truck's rear bumper. "Hey, call off your dog." "I'm a police officer," Mara said, showing her badge. "What's in the back of the truck?" "Frozen treats." "What else?" Mara didn't answer. She wasn't looking at the man anymore. She was looking at the padlock on the truck's back door. Thick, scratched, and shiny new. "Open it." The man hesitated, then shrugged. "Give me a second." He fumbled for keys. Bear growled again, lower now, pacing in circles like something was gnawing at his nerves. Mara stepped back, hand resting on the grip of her sidearm. The heat had a way of making time stretch. The kids were watching. So were a couple of folks from their porches. The man unlocked the padlock, hesitated. "Open it," Mara repeated. He unlatched the door and pulled it wide. The air that spilled out wasn't cold, not even close. It reeked of something sweet and rotten and thick with metal. Bear lunged forward and leapt onto the bumper, then froze. His ears flicked. His nose twitched. Mara stepped closer. Inside, the space was dark. The freezer units were shut down, their lids dusted with flies. Melted sludge pooled along the floor, seeping from somewhere out of sight. Stacked on one side were empty tubs of ice cream. On the other, black plastic containers. Unmarked, The stench grew worse the farther in she looked. "Step aside," she told the man. Her voice had changed. It wasn't a request anymore. He didn't move. I said, "Step." Bear snarled. Loud. Deep. A threat that shook the metal under their feet. The man stepped back. Mara climbed up. Her boots sank slightly into something sticky. The heat was unbearable. It wasn't just ice cream in here. That smell, she'd known it since her rookie days. Decomp. She flipped open one of the black tubs. Her throat clamped shut. Inside, clothing. Children's clothing. Folded neatly like laundry. A pink sock. A pair of tiny denim shorts. Beneath them, blood. Old. Brown. Crusted. She opened the second tub. Same thing. Except this time, there was a photograph tucked inside. A little boy, 5, maybe 6, grinning, toothless. Behind him in the background was the edge of a playground. And something else. Something white. An ice cream truck. Mara turned to the man, hand going straight to her cuffs. "You're under arrest." His face didn't shift, didn't flinch. He just looked at her with those black lenses and said, "You have no idea what you're doing." Mara didn't respond. She pulled him down onto the street, face first, and Bear stayed on the bumper, staring into that truck like he was looking at hell itself. Within minutes, the scene turned into chaos. Radio calls, crime scene tape, parents dragging kids away, a deputy throwing up behind a tree. Mara stood still while they cataloged the truck, photographed everything. She couldn't stop looking at the tubs. There were 7 in total. 7 containers. 7 photographs. 7 missing kids? It couldn't be. The man gave nothing. Not during transport. Not during booking. He only repeated one thing before they took him to county. "They told me they'd come back for the rest." When asked who they were, he smiled. No one liked the way that smile sat on his face. That night, Mara couldn't sleep. She kept hearing Bear's bark. That single note of warning. She kept seeing the folded clothes, the photographs, and she remembered something else. Something from her own childhood. A story her mother used to tell her when the ice cream truck passed too slow on summer nights. "Not all drivers sell sweets," she used to say. "Some of them take." Mara never knew what that meant. Until now, at 3:12 a.m., her phone lit up. It was dispatch. Another ice cream truck had been reported. This one was seen crossing the state line. And it wasn't alone. The parking lot behind the diner in Ridge Crossing was silent, except for the soft clicking of cooling metal. Mara stood behind her cruiser, watching the grainy footage from a gas station 2 miles north. The second truck had passed through 20 minutes earlier. Same warped melody, same faded paint. But there was something different. It wasn't the driver. It was a child. In the video, a girl in red stood too close to the truck, maybe 6 years old. Her hand was reaching up, like she was about to take something. An ice cream cone, maybe. But in the last second, she turned to look at someone behind the camera. Her eyes locked on the lens, wide, still. The look wasn't hunger or joy. It was fear. And then the footage glitched. When it returned, the truck was gone. So was the girl. Mara hit pause and stared. Bear lay beside her, head resting on his paws, eyes never leaving the screen. "This isn't just one man," she said, not to anyone in particular. Captain Harlow leaned against the car beside her, thumb hooked in his belt. His voice was low. "The guy we got in Briar Hollow's not talking. Just keeps humming that damn music. Anything on the girl? Missing persons just put out a bulletin. Her name's Aria Jennings. Went missing an hour before that footage was taken. Backyard birthday party. Parents thought she wandered off." Mara folded her arms, trying to stop the cold rolling under her skin. The sun hadn't even risen, and already the day felt darker than the one before. "We need to find that truck." "We will," Harlow said, but his voice didn't carry conviction. "Feds are sending a task force. Something about this spooked them. Real bad. Because of the tubs? No, because of the notes." Mara turned her head. "There were notes inside each container," Harlow said, looking off toward the trees like he hated what he was saying. rolled up like little scrolls. 7 notes, same message in each. He handed her a photo from his pocket, blurry, snapped from the crime scene before the evidence team bagged it. Mara squinted. The paper read, "For the harvest." Her fingers tightened. That night, she stayed at the precinct. She couldn't bring herself to go home. She couldn't go to her father's place either. Not yet. Instead, she pulled up old case files. Unsolved child abductions going back 30 years. She filtered by vehicle descriptions. Most led nowhere, until she found one. June 1987, Red River County. 2 missing siblings, Evan and Lucy Monroe, vanished walking home from school. The last witness, a janitor, claimed to have seen a white truck with cartoon decals parked across the street. He'd even described the jingle. Mara found the line buried in the interview transcript. It wasn't right. That music sounded broken. She ran the plate numbers from the current truck. Nothing. No registration. No tags. VIN number had been scratched off and filled with fake digits. The entire vehicle was a ghost. The man they had in custody gave them no real name, no fingerprints on file, no past. He ate what they gave him. Slept, smiled, waited. By noon, Mara had convinced Harlow to let her join the unit, tracking the second truck. Bear rode with her, tense and alert, eyes sharp as razors. They caught a break 40 minutes later. A woman named Cassandra Yates, in the town of Willow Dell, called in a tip, said an ice cream truck stopped outside her roadside motel the night before. She remembered it because her dog, a little mutt named Waffles, had gone crazy barking until the truck pulled away. Cassandra gave them the license number. It matched the digits from the original truck, -1. Fake plates, but similar enough to link them. Mara was on the road within 5 minutes. Willow Dell was only 30 miles west. A farming town with more tractors than people, half of it abandoned after the grain elevator collapsed last year. The motel sat alone on a gravel lot, its neon sign buzzing even in daylight. Cassandra waited out front, arms crossed, eyes tight with worry. "It stopped right there," she said, pointing to a cracked slab of pavement by the mailbox. Wasn't playing any music at first. Then, as it left, it turned on that God-awful tune. Too slow, like it was melting. "Did you see the driver?" She nodded. "Kind of. He was small, real thin, pale, wore gloves." "Was he alone?" "Didn't see anyone else." But her voice dropped. "I could swear I saw something move in the back window. Just a flicker, like a curtain got pulled real fast." Mara nodded. "Thank you." She walked Bear around the spot. At first, nothing. Then Bear jerked hard on the leash, nose pinned to the gravel. He sniffed, pace turned, then barked. One sharp bark. He stopped near a patch of weeds and began to dig. Clumps of dirt flew. Mara knelt beside him. A minute later, his paws scraped something hard. She pulled it out. A shoe, child-sized, red canvas, blood on the sole. The motel owner handed over security cam footage. Blurry again, but the timestamp put the truck there around 3:42 a.m., nearly the same time Mara got the dispatch call, meaning the trucks were working in tandem. One luring, the other collecting? Her stomach twisted at the thought. She got back into the cruiser, Bear sitting tall beside her. "What the hell is going on?" she whispered. The answer came through the radio 10 minutes later. Dispatch crackled. "We've got another one. Location? Old Larkspur Orchard, north edge of Sable County. Abandoned since the fires. Civilian called it in. Said a truck was parked by the gate. Kids went missing nearby 3 days ago. Locals already gathering." Mara slammed the car into gear. She had a bad feeling this one wouldn't end the same way. It was nearly dusk when she arrived. The orchard was nothing but skeletal trees and blackened earth. The air smelled like soot and mold. A dozen people stood behind makeshift police tape, murmuring. The truck was there. Same model. Same colors. Same damn jingle. Playing faintly from inside, but the engine was cold, and the driver's seat empty. Mara and Bear approached with caution. She circled to the back. No padlock this time, just a rusted latch. She braced herself. Opened it. The space inside was pristine. Clean floor. Organized racks of dry ice and popsicle boxes. Not a single black tub in sight. Except one. Way at the back. A child's backpack sat next to it. Blue, with a missing zipper and a plastic charm shaped like a sun. Mara recognized it from the bulletin. Aria Jennings. She opened the tub. No blood this time. Just a note. Scrawled in blocky, uneven handwriting. Too late. Harvest begins tomorrow. Mara stared. Then she looked again. There was something else underneath. A small Polaroid. It showed a girl in red, blindfolded, tied to a chair. Behind her, in the shadows, were at least 3 figures. One of them was wearing the exact same sunglasses as the man they had in custody. But it wasn't him. It was someone else. Someone younger. Mara lowered the photo, her pulse racing. This wasn't just a lone predator. This was a system. And it was still moving, still watching, still collecting. And now it had her attention. The night air pressed heavy against Mara's skin as she stood beneath the skeletal branches of the burned orchard. The Polaroid trembled in her hand, its grainy image etched deep into her mind. The blindfolded girl, the shadowed figures. This was no random abduction. It was a ritual, a harvest. Bear shifted at her side, ears pricked, every muscle taut. The deputy beside her swallowed hard and glanced away, unable to meet her eyes. The investigation had become a quiet nightmare unfolding in slow motion, each discovery darker than the last. Back at the station, the black tubs in the first truck sat under fluorescent lights, their contents cataloged, their horror slowly seeping into every report. The photos inside linked 7 children, missing over 3 decades, tied by the same gruesome thread. The man in custody had only whispered fragments. They come for the harvest. The price must be paid. Mara's father's face haunted her mind. His last words before the bottle swallowed him whole. Some secrets are better left buried. She hadn't believed him until now. With Bear leading, she returned to Briar Hollow's forgotten woods, following a path no one dared tread since her childhood. The night was a brittle silence pierced only by the crunch of dead leaves. Up ahead, faint light flickered. Campfires? Torches? Mara's breath caught as figures emerged from the shadows. Faces painted in half-light, eyes gleaming with fanatic resolve. They wore the same sunglasses, the same cold smiles. The cult. A chill wrapped her spine as she realized the truth. The ice cream trucks weren't just lures. They were offerings, traps set to feed a darkness older than the town itself. Suddenly, Bear lunged, teeth bared, breaking the quiet with a growl that cracked the night. Mara pulled her weapon, her heart pounding as the cultists closed in. Betrayal stung like a slap when a voice behind her whispered, "You should have stayed away." It was a deputy, his face twisted in conflict, revealing his role in the conspiracy, a man sworn to protect but willing to sacrifice. The weight of broken trust pressed heavy as gunfire erupted. Shouts shattered the night, and Mara fought not just for missing children, but for her own survival. In the final moments, bloodied and breathless, Mara uncovered the cult heart, a cavern beneath the orchard where the kidnapped children were held, their eyes wide with hope and fear. She freed them, their fragile relief washing over her like rain after a drought. Back in the dawn's quiet light, Mara stood alone, watching the children embrace freedom. The cultists were gone, scattered like shadows at sunrise, but the scars they left were deeper than the earth beneath. As Bear rested his head on her knee, Mara whispered a vow. Some harvest could be stopped. Some darkness could be fought. But the silence that followed was uneasy. Because even now, somewhere, another ice cream truck played a slow, broken tune, and the harvest had only just begun.